So I do think it fits under other parts of this instruction, and certainly a continual pattern of behavior would go to this interfering my work performance or how I feel at work or my concentration at work. But the government has not chosen to use that language, and we certainly don't have any evidence of a pattern here. The government is alleging one image sharing constitutes this intimidating, offensive work environment, which I'm assuming is why the government chose that part instead of the other part of Charlie, which has the purpose or effect of unreasonably interfering with work performance. So I'm simply saying that the way the government has charged it cannot be proven.
Right, and I'm going to beat you one more time with the same question because I get it. It's not an easy answer. But under your theory, what is the definition of a working environment? What are the parameters of that?
Your Honor, I believe that it has to be some nexus to the alleged victim, the named person, where they are working.
Very well. Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
Government?
Your Honor, if it may please the court, the language of the ALCOS makes pretty clear that off-duty and non-duty behaviors that affect the military workplace may also be considered to be sexual harassment. And like you highlighted, the Coast Guard work environment, it's not one particular duty station, it's the organization as a whole. And it is possible for a chief to sexually harass a E4 by sending them a lewd image at a different duty station. And to read it narrowly such that the members must be co-located would defeat a large part of the purpose of the ALCOS.
And Governor, if I could, are you done? I do have some factual questions for you.
Yes, Your Honor.
So, was she coming back from A school to the cutter?
I do not believe so, Your Honor.
And was Coast Guard email used to transmit these images, or were they on each individual's private?
I believe it was Facebook Communicator.
Facebook?
Yes, Your Honor.
So it was done after hours? Or you don't know?
I don't know the exact time, Your Honor.
And so for you, Lieutenant Lawrence, your definition of a hostile work environment would be Coast Guard writ large, anywhere in the Coast Guard?
A broader one, if it impacts you being in the Coast Guard. So here, an E4's view of chiefs, having a chief send a lewd image, and then she has to go and be supervised by chiefs and be directed by people of the same rank who just sent her an image of male genitalia unsolicited. So her Coast Guard at large, Your Honor.
And Lieutenant Lawrence, I was now unable to come across the CAF case law, but obviously there's a wealth of Title VII law out there. Is there a subjective or objective standard for what the victim, how the victim has to be impacted by this type of activity?
I do not know that standard. I can supplement my brief if the court would like that.
I can do the research. I just didn't know if you had a particular argument. Most of the military case law that I've discovered, not surprisingly, deals with people more along the lines of what Lieutenant Dober said, which is person to person or the same unit installation type contact. I did not find a military case that dealt with this kind of electronic transmission to someone who's not co-located. And Mr. Markland, since this does relate to your client, I was going to provide you an opportunity. Is there anything you would add to the discussion so far?
No, thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. Lieutenant Dobry, anything additional from you?
Yeah, I would just like to point out that no evidence is being utilized to show that AET3 was going to be under MKC Brown's supervision after A school. I believe she had gone there from the Polar Star, and so there wasn't any type of workplace interaction that was to be expected at that point. And so certainly that's the defense's position that it can't be anywhere for creating a hostile work environment. There has to be some connection to that location or that person, which is why we raised this motion.
Lieutenant Lawrence, in the specification, and as I look at the case law, harassing is in the plural. Does the government have a position on whether or not one instance of sending an unwanted image or language would constitute sexual harassment?
We do, Your Honor. One instance is sufficient to satisfy the general order laid out in the ALCOST. And so one instance is sufficient to harass somebody in violation of the order.
And so walk me through, how would one instance create that hostile work environment?
With these facts or with any facts, Your Honor?
Whichever you like. I mean, I think this is a developing area with the ease of transmission nowadays with images. Looking at the Title VII case law, one instance typically does not constitute sexual harassment in a prima facie case. So they're looking for something a little bit more pervasive, including the Supreme Court has talked about a subjective standard where the environment has to be abusive. I'm paraphrasing shortly there, but I mean there's a lot of discussion out there in the federal circuits, mostly on the EEO side, obviously, but where they look at can one instance on one occasion constitute sexual harassment and behavior in a hostile work environment and that kind of stuff. So I didn't know if the government had an opportunity to research that and you had an opinion on it.
It's important to look at the power dynamic here as well. And so in E7, communicating this to an E4, that's a unique power dynamic to the military, where the rank is quite obvious.
Yeah, but you could charge that as a 134 type offense. And I would absolutely concede, I would agree with you that power dynamic is more appropriate, but here you charge as a violation of lawful general order, and she's not as unit and she's not coming back. Right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So keep walking me through that. How does the power dynamic create that hostile work environment?
That goes to where one instance can satisfy the sexual harassment requirement, Your Honor.
Okay. Government, you're welcome to supplement your response if you want. I think with respect to this specific issue, it is a somewhat of a novel issue in the military context where you have somebody not co-located with a member. If you want to supplement it, I can give you until, in fact, I'd ask you for both supplements to be submitted by close of business Monday. Is that fair?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor, for the other one.
So as we wrestle, I think Lieutenant Dobry's raised a very interesting issue, and in the definition of a hostile work environment, the lawful general order arguably came from the civil rights side of the House, and the military doesn't necessarily have the same amount of case law. Obviously, most of it's administrative in nature from MSPB and decisions disciplining civilian employees that have gone up into the federal circuits. But I'm wrestling a little bit with how do you define work environment, Seems like